Well, welcome everyone to a really wonderful evening that we can share together. I am here in the office at Temple Harzain in River Forest, Illinois, and we want to welcome all of the friends that are joining us from Congregation Adat Yeshurun and also U.S.S.R, the Institute for Jewish Activism. We're really excited to have joined together as a group to be with Robyn tonight, and also to honor the memory of one of our congregants, our members. I'm going to read a little bio for Robyn. Hopefully, many of you have seen some of her other programs. We actually had two of her programs earlier this year: the Jews in China and Jews in Persia. They were all exceptional and wonderful. Robyn Helzner is a leading interpreter of world Jewish music. She has appeared in concerts throughout the United States and abroad. Robyn served as the cantor for the United Jewish Congregation of Hong Kong and officiated at the first bar mitzvah celebrated in Beijing. Robyn's underground concerts for Jews and refuseniks in the Soviet Union led to sold-out appearances in the concert halls of Moscow and St. Petersburg. Robyn has released 5 recordings: Hearts Awaken, A Fire Burns, and Signs and Wonders feature the Robyn Helzner Trio. Clap Your Hands and I Live in the City are beloved by children worldwide. Robyn currently serves as a cantor for synagogues in Washington, D.C., and leads Jewish heritage tours to China, the Balkans, Morocco, Spain, and Portugal. An incredible bio, and for an incredible person, an incredible performer. She has a wonderful story to share with us. And Vladimir Tsesis is our major supporter for this concert, and it's in honor of the memory of his beloved wife, Marina. He's going to say a few words to us, and then we're going to start the concert. Vladimir, please.
Yeah, first of all, I want to thank the Harzain Synagogue for having an opportunity to give honor to my beloved wife, Marina. And what is incredible, and I see miracles on each step of my life, that's my quality. But incredible is that it was on the 5th of November, she passed away, and tomorrow is her birthday. So it is just unbelievable. Well, Marina was my Juliet, I was her Romeo. We met 57 years prior to her, she passed away. We had a very interesting life. We have, I had an honor to work on a book about her for 3 years, and this book is going to be published very soon. She was a woman with incredible talents, incredible character, and I think that she was the best woman in the world. I don't claim for anybody, but for me, it was just a great gift from God, and I thank God every day, not for what he took away, but for he gave me. And it's very unfortunate I cannot show you the pictures because I took her picture all my life. I don't know if you see it. Anyway, she was a woman of all talents. And first of all, she was a great mother and a great wife. And thank you very much for being part of the audience here, because it's the greatest tribute which I can have. It's an event which I will remember forever. Thank you.
Thank you, Vladimir. Robyn, it's all yours.
Thank you, Charles. Thank you, Vladimir. I'm going to just request that everybody take a look at your screens. Make sure you're muted. And I'm going to start by sharing my screen. Thank you all for joining me this evening. I was born in Washington, D.C. Growing up in Washington meant living at the center of political power in the United States. As a child, I ducked under my desk at school to prepare for a possible nuclear attack on the nation's capital. Washington has always been at the epicenter of political movements, protests, and demonstrations. But it was one particular movement that would deliver a more personal impact. I've been singing Jewish music since I was 8 years old. This photo was taken at the Hebrew home of Greater Washington. This was the first public performance that my sister, Cantor Rochelle Helzner, she's the one holding the guitar, and I had ever presented. At home, my family listened to a lot of Jewish music on the record player, songs in Hebrew and Yiddish, and recordings of the Red Army Chorus. My grandfather was a soldier in the Russian army in World War I. He escaped from Russia in 1919 and helped to found a kibbutz in Israel, which was then Palestine. I was an active member of the Young Judea Youth Organization and a song leader in the movement. We were dedicated to supporting Israel and to ending the oppression of Jews in the Soviet Union. The Soviet Jewry movement had its roots in an earlier tragedy that befell the Jewish people. During World War II, American Jews were helpless to stop the Holocaust from happening. As a discriminated minority, we lacked confidence and political influence. But in the years following the war, and with the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948, things started to change. When American Jews began to realize that the Soviet government was committing cultural genocide by denying its Jewish citizens the right to practice Judaism, as well as the right to leave the country, the cry of never again took on new meaning and motivated American Jews to act on behalf of persecuted Soviet Jews. I remember in the early 1960s, my Hebrew school teacher asked us to bring in a newspaper article that had some sort of Jewish content. Every child in the class brought in the same article because that's all there was. But the 1967 Six-Day War changed all that. Israel's victory, despite overwhelming odds, had a profound effect on world Jewry. The explosion of pride and positive self-identification that swept the American Jewish community also awakened Soviet Jewry. But the anti-Israel and anti-Semitic propaganda that filled the streets and the airwaves in the Soviet Union prompted some Jews to begin applying for exit visas. One of the songs that we Soviet Jewish activists sang was in Russian. For us, the words conveyed a powerful message to the oppressive Soviet government. The lyrics say, "I fear no one. I believe in no one except God alone. There is no one except God alone, only God alone." Even though we can't sing with one another on Zoom, I invite you to join me in singing all of the songs in the program this evening. Nie boюсь я никого и не верю никому, только Богу одному. Нет, нет никого, кроме Бога одного. Ай, рай, 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 рай. Нет, нет никого, кроме Бога одного. Ай, рай, 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 рай. Нет, нет никого, кроме Бога одного. Ай, рай, 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 рай. Нет, нет никого, кроме Бога одного. Ай, рай, 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 рай. Нет, нет, не боюсь я никого, только Бога одного. Нет, нет, не боюсь я никого, только Бога одного. Нет, нет, не боюсь я никого, только Бога одного. Нет, нет, не боюсь я никого, только Бога одного. We also sang a song in Hebrew. that was smuggled out of the Soviet Union. Teaching Hebrew in the USSR was treated as a crime, so the composer found a simple, direct way to express the Jews' solidarity with Israel through its flag of blue and white. You'll echo the words in italics. Kachol v'levan, repeat. Kachol v'levan, Zetzeva sheli, your turn. Zetzeva sheli. Kachol v'levan, kachol v'levan, tzivei admati, tzivei admati. Kachol v'levan, kachol v'levan, kachol v'levan, kachol v'levan. Together. Zetzeva sheli, kol yemai le'olam. Kachol v'levan, your turn. Kachol v'levan, kmo shir, kmo chalom, kmo shir, kmo chalom. Kachol v'levan, kachol v'levan, tikva le'shalom, tikva le'shalom. Kachol v'levan, kachol v'levan, kachol v'levan, kachol v'levan. Together. Zetzeva sheli, kol yemai le'olam. Kachol v'levan. Together. Kachol v'levan. Ein seva acher, ein seva acher. Kachol v'levan, kachol v'levan. Ani rak chozer, ani rak chozer. Kachol v'levan, kachol v'levan, kachol v'levan, kachol v'levan. Zetzeva sheli, kol yemai le'olam. Once more in the chorus. Kachol v'levan, kachol v'levan, kachol v'levan, kachol v'levan. Together. Zetzeva sheli, kol yemai le'olam. On April 26, 1970, a Washington, D.C. community-wide youth rally was organized to demonstrate support for Soviet Jews. My sister Rochelle and I were invited to participate in the musical part of the program. That's me standing there. My sister is sitting right below me. And by then, we each had our own guitar. As we prepared for the assembly, we learned that a decision had been made to hold a daily youth protest, a fast for freedom, to draw attention to the desperate situation facing Soviet Jews. The synagogue sanctuary was filled to overflowing when the announcement was made to launch the daily protest. 1,300 Jewish youth were energized and inspired to take action. Due to the prohibition against demonstrating within 500 feet of an embassy, the first daily protest had to be held several blocks away from the Soviet embassy, which was then on 16th Street in Northwest DC. Youth volunteers made a personal commitment to stand on the corner from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. to fast and to hand out information about the oppression and imprisonment of Soviet Jews. I took the day off from school when I was 14 to participate in the Fast for Freedom. Standing on the corner at 17th Street, I felt like I was a link in an important chain. Someone had stood in my place the day before, someone would stand in my place tomorrow. In December 1970, as a result of a court challenge, the daily protest was moved to its permanent location right across the street from the Soviet embassy. On International Human Rights Day, December 10th, 1970, the Soviet Jewry Vigil officially began. We adopted other actions to express support for Soviet Jews. B'nai Mitzvah students were partnered with Soviet Jewish children denied the right to celebrate bar and bat mitzvah. We wore bracelets emblazoned with the names of refuseniks, Jews denied exit visas. Having applied to leave the Union, these Jews were often denounced as agents of Zionism and world imperialism and labeled as traitors. Once refused permission to exit, they immediately lost their jobs and any opportunities for further education. To draw media attention to the plight of Soviet Jews, clergy, lay leaders, and students were arrested for protesting too close to the front of the Soviet embassy or for chaining themselves to the locked gates. We boycotted Pepsi Cola in retaliation for PepsiCo's agreement to manufacture and sell soft drinks in the Soviet Union. On Simchat Torah, the seventh Hakafah, the seventh parade with the Torah, was silent in solidarity with our people silenced in the U.S.S.R. We compared the Soviet Jews with the ancient Israelites in Egypt. These modern Jews were enslaved by a modern pharaoh represented by the Soviet regime. At our seders, we sang the underground song, Atpusti narod moy, Let My People Go, in Russian and in English. Faraonu, Faraonu gavaryu, Atpusti narod moy. Faraonu, Faraonu gavaryu, Atpusti narod moy. Atpusti narod еврейский, народ свою. Отпусти народ еврейский, народину свою. Отпусти народ, отпусти народ, отпусти народ домой. To the Pharaoh I say, let my people go. To the Pharaoh I say, let my people go. Let the Jewish people go to their homeland. Let the Jewish people go to Eretz Yisrael. Let my people go. Let my people go. Let my people go.
Excellent Russian.
In 1975, Congress passed the Jackson-Vanik Amendment linking foreign trade credits to Soviet immigration policy. This led to an increase in the number of Jews leaving the U.S.S.R., but the increase was short-lived. Throughout the 1980s, Jewish immigration plummeted, and the Soviet government continued to arrest, imprison, and deny Jews the right to leave. In December 1987, Elie Wiesel, Zichrono Livracha, and former prisoner of conscience Anatoly Sharansky challenged American Jews to gather in Washington for a rally that was a mass demonstration to coincide with a visit by Soviet President Gorbachev. 250,000 people from all over the United States rallied to the call. I sang at the assembly point at Lafayette Square across the street from the White House. It was thrilling to watch the sea of demonstrators from my place on the performer's stage. As I marched down Constitution Avenue towards the Capitol, I marveled at the throngs of people in front of me and behind me. We sent a powerful message to Soviet President Gorbachev. We have not forgotten our brothers and sisters in the Soviet Union, we said. We will not be silent. Shlach et ami, let my people go. And we sang, Am Yisrael Chai, the people, the nation of Israel lives. Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai. 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 Od Avinu Chai, Od Avinu Chai, Od Avinu, Od
Africa. Please check your connection.
For several years, the Washington Jewish community had been sending teachers and community leaders to the U.S.S.R. to bring in materials and to meet with Soviet Jews and refuseniks. I was sent to the Soviet Union in 1988. It was the first time that the community had ever sent a Jewish folk singer, and none of us was prepared for the welcome that I received. Everywhere I traveled, I found Jews hungry to hear the music of our people. I landed at Moscow's International Airport late at night. Unlike other bustling airports in the West, the Moscow airport was dark and silent. I entered passport control. The official looked at my passport. He looked at me. He looked at my passport. He looked at me. He looked at my passport. He looked at me. I was ready to confess. Once I retrieved my bags, I proceeded to the notorious customs check. I heard from previous travelers that the authorities confiscated every piece of Judaica that they tried to bring into the country. While I may be the only person whose bags were never searched at Soviet customs, my traveling companion was not so lucky. I watched as every article in her suitcase was removed. We'd brought ritual items to distribute, like talitot, prayer books, and even kosher salamis. Surprisingly, they didn't take any of those items. Instead, they focused on a box of cassette tapes in her suitcase. The unmarked cassettes contained recordings of Jewish music. Suddenly, the officials called me over. "Do you have these cassettes?" they asked. I took a deep breath. I had a box of Jewish music cassettes in my suitcase, but they weren't exactly the same recordings. So I replied, "No, I don't have those cassettes." They demanded again, "Do you have these cassettes?" Feeling completely justified, I responded, "No, I don't have those cassettes. I have other cassettes, but not those." Finally, they let us pass. I approached the Soviet idea of a customer service desk and presented my transport voucher to my hotel. The clerk informed me that the last shuttle had departed long ago. I had no rubles, and with all the currency exchanges closed for the night, I asked how I was supposed to pay for a taxi. She just shrugged. So I looked around and noticed a group of German tourists getting on a bus. I discovered that their hotel was not far from mine, so I negotiated with the driver to take me to my hotel for a carton of Marlboro cigarettes, a very precious commodity in the Soviet Union in those days. As I started to board the bus, the Soviet customer service representative ran over and cried out, "You can't get on that bus." And I told her I am getting on the bus. She said, "It is forbidden." As she continued to scold me, I realized that I was just experiencing the irrational Soviet system. In the cities, I tried to appear as inconspicuous as possible. I didn't know then that it was difficult for a Westerner to blend into Soviet society. We walked differently. We held up our heads, and our steps were strong and assured. And no American woman would ever have her weight checked in public, certainly not without first removing her shoes. Before I left Washington, I was given names and telephone numbers of Jews to contact. I called them from public payphones because you had to assume that the hotel phones were bugged. I had studied some Russian, so I was able to say a few things about myself. Меня зовут Robyn Helzner. My name is Robyn Helzner. Я живу в Вашингтоне. I live in Washington, D.C. Я исполняю еврейские песни. I sing Jewish songs. Я выступаю с концертами еврейской музыки. and I give concerts of Jewish music. At the time, it was illegal for Jews to rent a public space to hold a public meeting, so underground concerts were organized. Jews would somehow find out about these concerts and make their way to the cramped Soviet apartments where we met. As I gazed around the room, I noticed that everyone looked like me and other Jewish Americans with Eastern European roots. I realized that if not for my grandparents leaving Russia, that would be me sitting there. Instead, I possessed the most valuable item of all, a United States passport. I also met refuseniks like Yuli Kosharovsky, Zichrono Livracha. These refuseniks were like modern-day Maccabees, fighting to live as Jews in the face of a cruelly oppressive Soviet government. When we gathered, we would sing their anthem, Gesher Tsar Me'od. The whole world is a narrow bridge, but the most important thing is not to fear. Kol ha'olam kulo, Gesher Tsar Me'od, Gesher Tsar Me'od, Gesher Tsar Me'od, Kol ha'olam kulo, Gesher Tsar Me'od, Gesher Tsar Me'od. Gesher Tsar Me'od, Gesher Tsar Me'od, Kol ha'olam kulo, Gesher Tsar Me'od, Gesher Tsar Me'od. The journey became even more personal when I met relatives of mine in Kyiv, Ukraine. They were shocked when I called because no one who left the Soviet Union ever came back. My Russian-English dictionary got a good workout as we struggled to communicate. Mostly we just hugged each other. They invited me to meet the rest of the family the next day. Stepping out of my hotel, it was my turn to be shocked to see a crowd of people, all family, waiting to greet me. Back at their modest apartment, I was treated to a festive meal with warm and gracious hospitality. I reciprocated by sharing some songs. My cousins had no formal connection to Judaism because it was dangerous at the time, but they were nostalgic for the culture and particularly enjoyed the Yiddish songs that I sang, especially Tum Balalaika. Let's sing it together, the first verse in Yiddish and then continue in English. Tumbala, tumbala, tumbala laika. Tumbala, tumbala, tumbala laika. Tumbala laika, spiel balalaika. Tumbala laika, Freitag soll sein. Steht der Boche unertracht, Tracht und Tracht, a ganze Nacht. Wemmen zu nehmen und nicht verschämen, wemmen zu nehmen und nicht verschämen. Tumbala, tumbala, tumbala laika, tumbala, tumbala, tumbala laika, tumbala laika, spiel balalaika, tumbala laika, Freitag soll sein. Maiden, maiden, tell me true, you. What can burn for years and years? What can cry and shed no tears? Tumbala, tumbala, tumbala laika, tumbala, tumbala, tumbala laika, tumbala laika, spielbala laika, tumbala laika, Freitag soll sein. Foolish boy, I'll tell you true, a stone can grow without the dew. Love can burn for years and years, a heart can cry and shed no tears. Tumbala, tumbala, tumbala laika, tumbala, tumbala, tumbala laika, tumbala laika, spielbala laika, tumbala laika, Freitag soll sein. Noch einmal. Tumbala, tumbala, tumbala laika, tumbala, tumbala, tumbala laika, tumbala laika, spielbala laika, tumbala laika, Freitag soll sein. I hope that very soon we can be together in person so we can really sing together. On the heels of glasnost and perestroika, I returned to the Soviet Union in February 1989, the only American artist invited to perform at the historic dedication of Moscow's Jewish Cultural Center. The center was named for Solomon Mikhoels, the great Soviet Jewish actor and cultural leader. He was murdered on Stalin's orders in 1948. Naming the center for Mikhoels marked a tremendous step towards reclaiming his venerated place in Jewish and Russian history and to reviving Jewish culture in the Soviet Union. In addition to the foreign dignitaries who attended the center opening, refuseniks like Yuli Kosharovsky were able to appear at the event without fear of harassment or imprisonment. After 17 years in refusal, Yuli and his family were allowed to leave for Israel 1 month after the historic dedication. Also in attendance were Moscow Jewish activists Victor, Eli, and Masha, who I had met during my previous visit. When Eli saw me, he joked, "This is what you call back in the U.S.S.R." I subsequently appeared in the sold-out concert halls of Moscow and St. Petersburg as part of an officially government-sanctioned Jewish cultural tour of the U.S.S.R. The sign by my shoulder says, Robyn, Helzner. This was the first time that Hebrew songs were performed in public in the Soviet Union in more than 50 years. There were long lines to purchase tickets for these concerts. Of course, there were long lines to purchase everything in those days. The concerts were held at Tchaikovsky Hall in Moscow, a 3,000-seat auditorium. Many people who attended the concerts had never heard Jewish music before. One person told me, "This is the first time that I feel like what it means to be a Jew." I want to share a brief video that highlights some of my experiences in the Soviet Union.
I traveled to the Soviet Union in October of 1988. It was an underground visit, which meant that although my visa said tourist, I had another agenda. I was sent to give concerts and to meet with Soviet Jews and refuseniks whenever possible. I had several concerts during that trip, and they were all held in small Soviet apartments where the people lived, because at that time the Jews in the cities, particularly Moscow, Leningrad, were not allowed to rent a public space to hold a public meeting. So we met in these small concerts. Word got out very quickly to people, and the concerts were always full. And I remember in the last concert that I gave in this trip, there were about 50 people crammed into this small flat in Moscow. And we sang for over 3 hours songs in Hebrew, Yiddish, Ladino. And I've never seen people respond to the music the way that they did. Those who knew the music sang with such passion It was unbelievable. And those who didn't know the songs sat there for those many hours, and their eyes were gleaming, and their faces were smiling, and it felt like for that amount of time, we were not in this oppressive Soviet capital, but we were in a world of Jewish warmth and Jewish freedom, where we could say what we wanted to and sing what we wanted to without fear. When people asked me about my experiences there, asked me if I would go back, I told them I would go in a minute, because I realized as a Jewish folk singer I had a tremendous contribution to make. That music made a difference. It was a key to the sparking of this Jewish identity. 4 months later, I was invited to return to the Soviet Union to participate in the historic dedication of the Solomon Mikhail's Jewish Cultural Center in Moscow. So I was back on a plane, singing at the dedication, where Hebrew was heard for the first time openly in over 50 years. Following that, I performed in the concert halls of Moscow and Leningrad in the first officially government-sanctioned Jewish cultural tour, where we played to over 3,000 people at a time. So here, at one point, I was looking over my shoulder, arranging concerts clandestinely, in a way, in small apartments, fitting in as many people as we could. And the next performance, the next trip, was in Tchaikovsky Hall in Moscow, a 3,000-seat auditorium. And the concerts were sold out, which led me to believe that although people hadn't had a connection for so many years with their culture and their background, given the opportunity, they raced to become a part of it, to find out what it was all about.
I was honored to appear on the same stage with Israeli stars Yafa Yarkoni, Zichrona Livracha, and Duda Fisher. I sang songs in Hebrew, Yiddish, and Ladino. I would also invite the audience to sing with me on the chorus of the Hebrew piyut, or liturgical poem, Mi Pi El. When I was teaching the words, Mi Pi El, Yevorach Kol Yisrael, I could tell people were a little uncomfortable because many had never heard or spoken Hebrew before. I paused and said, "Don't worry, we have time." Everyone relaxed and we sang the chorus together. This was usually the last song in my set. So when I finished, I would bow, thank you very much, both shoy spasiba, the audience applauded, and I left the stage. One night, the audience continued to applaud in what became a sustained rhythmic clapping. And someone backstage said to me, "Robyn, go back on the stage." As soon as I walked back on the stage, the entire audience started to sing, Mi Pi El, Yevorach Kol Yisrael, on their own, in Hebrew. It was a miraculous moment. So let's sing. Mi Pi El, Yevorach Kol Yisrael, Mi Pi El, Yevorach Kol Yisrael, Ein Adir Kadonai, Ve'ein Baruch Ve'ein Amram, Ein Gedula Katorah, Ve'ein Dorsheh Yisrael, Mi Pi El, Yevorach Kol Yisrael, Mi Pi El, Yevorach Kol Yisrael, Ein Hador Kadonai, Ve'ein Vatik Ve'ein Amram, Ein Zichia Katorah, Ve'ein Chachameh Yisrael, Mi Pi El, Yevorach Kol 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 Yisrael. Even with the historic events taking place in the concert halls of Moscow and St. Petersburg, I was reminded that the oppression of Soviet Jews had not ended. In Leningrad, I was invited by members of the underground Jewish band Chaverim to join them in a performance. A hall was secured, radio announcements were broadcast, and tickets were sold. However, what was permitted for an American Jewish singer performing as part of a government-sanctioned tour was not permitted for a joint concert with a local Jewish band. Somebody called the concert hall and ordered that the performance be canceled. The hall manager complied, citing that a call from the KGB was an offer he could not refuse. Later, I learned that while the Chaverim band and their fans were disappointed by the cancellation, my interaction with the underground Jewish activists helped to boost their morale. When I returned to the Soviet Union, when I returned to the United States, I developed Kindling the Sparks, a concert of Jewish and Russian folk songs designed to promote the integration and acculturation of Soviet Jews into American Jewish life. The response to my performances in the Soviet Union convinced me that Jewish music was the key to sparking a sense of Jewish identity in people who had long been denied access to their Jewish heritage. One of the songs that I performed was by beloved singer-songwriter, Russian singer-songwriter, Bulat Okudjava. I learned about Okudjava from a family of refuseniks in Moscow. When the Magazanik family applied to emigrate, Dr. Magazanik was fired from his position as the director of a major hospital. Dr. Magazanik had been Okudjava's personal physician. I'd like to sing a few verses of an Okudjava song. It's a heartfelt prayer, a plea for fulfillment, contentment, and peace. Often the Russian-speaking audiences would become tearful when I sang it at the Kindling the Sparks concerts. Пока земля еще вертится, пока еще ярок свет, Господи, дай же ты каждому, чего у него нет. Умному дай голову, трусливому дай коня, дай счастливому денег и не забудь про меня. Пока земля еще вертится, Господи, Твоя власть, дай рвущий мус, як власти, на властвоваться заласт. Дай передишку щедрому, хоть исхода дня, Каину дай раскаяние и не забудь про меня. Господи, мой Боже, зелье глазе мой, пока земля еще вертится, и это есть страна самой, пока еще хватает времени и огня, дай же ты всем понемногу и не забудь про меня. Дай же ты всем понемногу и не забудь про меня. When the Magazanik family was finally given permission to leave the Soviet Union, they moved to Israel. I recently had the great joy of visiting them in their home outside of Tel Aviv. By the way, all of the cousins that I met in Kyiv in the Ukraine, they also made Aliyah. The Berlin Wall fell in November 1989, and the gates of immigration flew open. The daily vigil across the street from the Soviet embassy in Washington, D.C., was suspended on January 27, 1991, When the Jewish community learned that I had been present when the daily vigil, the protest, was first established, I was invited to sing at the vigil's closing ceremonies. For me, it was like coming full circle. I sang songs in Hebrew and in Russian, songs of protest and songs of hope. To my surprise, a representative from the Russian embassy actually came out of the locked gates to address us. Of all the songs that I sang in the Soviet Union, there was one that I brought back. It was written by two Russian Jews in Hebrew, which was pretty amazing at the time. The song talks about the power to bring us together and to bring peace. The words of the chorus, I hope you'll join me, they say, Yehi Shalom, let there be peace. Tehi Ahava, let there be love. And then they borrow from the book of Isaiah, Velo Yisa Goy El Goy Charbo, let no nation raise its sword against another. And the last words are the most powerful, as they say simply, Bo Shalom Bo, come peace, come. Goes like this. Yehi Shalom, Tehi Ahava, Yehi Shalom, Tehi Ahava, Velo Yisa Goy El Goy Charbo, Bo Shalom Bo. Try it with me. Yehi Shalom, Tehi Ahava, Yehi Shalom, Tehi Ahava, Velo Yisa Goy El Goy Charbo, Bo Shalom Bo. Hasharim kulanu ke'echad, lo kedai echad לשיר לבד. בן אדם בעולם, בן אדם הראשון באחים, כולנו כאחד, כך מימי אדם ועד עד. או נשמע כל חוכמה, כל שמחה, כל ששון. Join me on the chorus. Yehi Shalom, Tehi Ahava, Yehi Shalom, Tehi Ahava, Velo Yisa Goy El Goy Charbo, Bo Shalom Bo. Hine ma tov, hine ma na'im, שוב גם יחד שבת כאחים, ניגונים ודברים הם יוצאים מן הלב, היושבים וגם המסובים, השרים תמיד הם בני חורים, בכל זמן ואיתם בואו ונצטרף. Everyone, Yehi Shalom, Tehi Ahava, Yehi Shalom, Tehi Ahava, Velo Yisa Goy El Goy Charbo, Bo Shalom Bo. עוד פעם, Yehi Shalom, Tehi Ahava, Yehi Shalom, Tehi Ahava, Velo Yisa Goy El Goy Charbo, Bo Shalom Bo, Velo Yisa Goy El Goy Charbo, Bo Shalom Bo. And finally, on International Human Rights Day, December 10th, 2010, I sang at the 40th anniversary commemoration of the start of the vigil. The event was held on the same plaza in Washington, D.C., where volunteers had protested for 21 years directly across the street from the old Soviet embassy. Introduced as the voice of the movement, I once again sang songs of the struggle, Kachol Velavan, Am Yisrael Chai, Gesher Ma'od. The Soviet embassy no longer exists. The Soviet Union is no more. From that small protest, history was made. Strength was gathered from people of every religious and ethnic background who stood in solidarity with those being persecuted and denied basic human rights. 7 days a week, 12 months a year, for 21 years, the vigil symbolized a commitment to human rights and human dignity. We're going to finish with a song, but before we sing, I want to thank you again for joining me this evening. Thanks to Vladimir Tsesis, who sponsored this program in memory, in honor of his beloved wife, Marina. I also want to thank our other sponsors, West Suburban Temple Har Zion, Rabbi Glick, Cantor Figa, David Schwartz, Charles Lapira, Charles, thank you so much for your help with the tech. I really appreciate it. And also at Congregation Adath Yeshurun, Rabbi Schlossberg, Cantor Lip, and John Wolf from U.S.S.R, the Institute for Jewish Activism. In addition to my concerts and presentations, I also lead Jewish heritage tours to destinations around the world, and 2 of my Jewish heritage tours that had to be canceled or postponed due to the pandemic have been rescheduled. My Jewish heritage tour to Portugal is set to depart October 2022, and my Jewish heritage tour to the Balkans, there's another program on that in the pipeline, is scheduled for the spring of 2023. I'll put my email address in the chat. If you might be interested in these or any other of my Jewish tours, please send me an email. I'll add you to my travel list and forward the details. So I want to close with a song, a Hebrew song that was somehow known to every Soviet Jew, a song of unity, a song of hope, and a song of peace. Please join me. Heveinu shalom alechem, Heveinu shalom alechem, Heveinu shalom alechem, Heveinu shalom, shalom, shalom alechem, Heveinu shalom alechem, Heveinu shalom alechem, Heveinu shalom alechem. Heveinu shalom, shalom, shalom alechem. Heveinu shalom alechem. Heveinu shalom alechem. Heveinu shalom alechem. Heveinu shalom, shalom. One more time. Heveinu shalom alechem. Heveinu shalom alechem. Heveinu shalom alechem. Heveinu shalom, shalom, shalom alechem. Thank you.
Oh, how wonderful.
Bravo.
How wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Robyn, for an
Great
absolutely
show. Thank you.
amazing concert. The cantor for our synagogue, Cantor Stuart Figa, who has known Robyn for many, many, many years. And he is going to present a few songs for us as well in Yiddish.
Thank you, Charles. Very short. Robyn, what a wonderful, wonderful program. I'm so inspired by what you did and what a thrill it must have been to be up close on the front lines. While you were, Robyn and I met at Northwestern. We were theater students together, and we took classes together, and we did musicals together. And while she was in Russia or doing her activities that she told you about, I was in New York doing Yiddish theater. I was working in the 1980s with the great stars of Yiddish theater from before the war and in the 1950s. And so I have that lineage with these great actors. In fact, I was singing at a rally for the Coalition for Soviet Jewry in New York near Bryant Park. And so we had the same cause, and we used our talents for our people. And so I'm so delighted that Vladimir asked me to sing a little Yiddish. Marina was a dear friend of ours, a great pillar of our community. We miss her so much. We loved her. And she would come to my Yiddish class as well as Vladimir and Vladimir's brother. So just a little abyssal Yiddish, a taste. And here's a song that pertains to Marina in many ways. Shein v'dilavune. Like the moon above you, the stars remind me of you. The angels knew I love you, so heaven sent you to me, which I think is exactly what Vladimir expresses every day. Shein v'dilavune, lichtig wie die Sterne, von Himmel am Tune, bist du mir zugeschickt. Mein Glück hab ich gewinnen, wenn ich hab dich gefunden, scheinst wie tausend Sinnen, hast mein Herz beglückt. Deine zähnlich weiße Perle, mit deine schöne Augen, deine Kleiderlich, deine Herrlich, hast mich zugezeugen, schein wie die Levune, lichtig wie die Sterne, den Himmel am Tune, bist du mir zugeschickt.
Thank you.
I've got one more song to finish off, which I think is appropriate. I was looking through my Yiddish theater book, and most appropriately, a song that was introduced by Mali Pekan in a show called Malkele dem Rebens. And the song is Vergess mich nicht, which means do not forget me. My heart pleads, please do not forget me. Though we are separated, our love will keep us close forever. Wie mein Herz beit, vergess mich nicht. In Leiden, Frieden, vergess mich nicht. Weil ich bleib ewig dein, gedenk das geht. Wo die wir sein, vergess mich nicht. Verlass du mich, nimmst du meine Schuhe mit dir. Dein Namen bleiben, wenn du in Herzen tief bei mir. 3 kleine Wörter, gedenk sag ich bet bei dir, vergess mich nicht. Verlass du mich, nimmst du meine Schuhe noch mit dir. Dein Namen bleiben, wenn du im Herzen tief bei mir. 3 kleine Wörter, gedenk sag ich bet bei dir, vergess mich nicht.
Thank you, Kenter. I just want to tell, it will be very unfair if I would not say something which is in my mind, because thank you, Robyn. I didn't realize your contribution. I think all the American Jews, without help of you, I will never come to the Golden Medina. I will never be in this incredible country, which I discover every day. And your incredible, magnificent participation and understanding of a horrible situation of the Soviet Jewry where we were exposed every day to anti-Semitism. Nobody can even imagine degree of anti-Semitism in the Soviet Union, remnants of which is still in this country. And if not for people like you, I would never be here and I would never be able to support this historical show. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you.
If there's a minute, when my father was unable to share the photographs, we can share our screen for a minute here.
Yes, thank you. Before you do that, I just wanted to
Oh,
say
sorry.
that if anybody is interested in contacting Robyn, she has put her email into the chat and you can copy that down and she would be happy to hear from any of you and, you know, talk about memories and share stories or answer questions that you might have. So be sure to look in the chat window and copy it down, Robyn Helzner at verizon.net. And it's there to copy. Thank you.
Thank you.
As you share, you're going to share your screen?
Yes, we're gonna share our screen for a minute. We have some pictures of Marina
Okay,
that we
so,
put.
go ahead.
Sure.
The pictures of Marina. So I'm going to provide the soundtrack. Okay, here we go.
Okay, great.
Bei mir bist du schön, bei mir hast du Heim, bei mir bist du einer auf der Welt. Bei mir bist du Gitt, bei mir hast du It, bei mir bist du Teile von Geld. Viel schöne Mädchen hab ich schon gewollt, nehmt mich und von sie alle ausgeklebt. Hab ich nur dich bei mir. Please let me explain. By mir bist du schön means that you're grand. By mir bist du schön. Again, I'll explain. It means you're the fairest in the land. I could say Bella, Bella, even say wunderbar. Each language only helps me tell you how grand you are. I tried to explain. By mir bist du schön. So kiss me and say you understand.
Wonderful. Now you see how great it is to have children. Whatever I was not able to accomplish with my pictures, they helped me out.
We had to wing this. I wasn't prepared. I apologize.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you everyone for joining us tonight. Thank you to Robyn for an absolutely amazing performance. And we look forward to the next time we can be together.